SwingNation, people grooving together.
Hey, welcome to SwingNation for December 2017. We have an extra special show for this month. We are doing a year recap. Hopefully this show will not take a year. But we
almost did.
We have our awesome all-star cast here, bringing the band together.
We got the band back. We got the band back.
So again, it's me, Rik Panganiban, with Zark Punch, Spuds over there, and our friend Ellen, who you have seen on various SwingNation and Yehoodi productions.
Yeah,
a couple of them.
You're in the new generation stuff.
The post production.
Yeah, the New Testament SwingNation.
New Power generation.
New MPG. Yeah.
Hey.
Rest in peace, Prince. When did we lose Prince? This year?
Last year?
Too long ago. It was 2 years ago, I think.
It was 2 years ago now?
I think so. Yes, pretty sure it was.
I think we're still feeling the repercussions of the loss of Prince.
Yeah, I'm still listening to him on repeat, so that's normal, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And that's always normal. The answer is always yes to that. All right.
So how's everybody doing?
Long time no see.
Yeah.
Yeah, never see any of you ever.
Certainly not at our weekly dance events that are in this town that we all happen to inhabit.
Nope. Don't know anything about that. To answer your question, I'm getting over a cold, so my voice goes in and out.
Yeah. Just like the burger.
Which I've never had.
She's vegan.
Oh.
Am I the only one who remembers this?
Yeah, no. I never remember.
And put it out of my brain.
What's funny is Ellen is in a lot of the stuff that I do outside of Yehoodi, and we usually have to feed her, and I keep forgetting she's vegan. Until the day that we have to feed you, and then we get vegan food. Anyway. Okay. But I digress. We're here to talk about the year that has happened in Lindy Hop. 2017. Great year.
Oh, you can't say that with a straight face.
Can't say it was a great year.
That was a mistake. It was a year, and it happened.
It was probably a better year for Lindy Hop than it was for the rest of the world, say.
Yeah.
So it can say that for itself if it were alive and able to talk, but it's on its deathbed. So
yes, I think a lot of people are very excited for 2017 to be done. That's it. There were some bright spots, and we will definitely get to those bright spots. But I think we should lead off with really the big news of January that continues to kind of flow through the whole year, which was this really horrible set of reports that a very prominent Lindy Hopper, Max Petruzella, has been sexually assaulting several dancers in our community, primarily at Lindy Focus, but at other places. And all this kind of came out in this. We had one report, and then just more reports kept following after it.
When did this story break? Was it January?
Yeah, basically January. So it was kind of right after Lindy Focus. So yeah, really shitty way to start the year.
But it was also kind of a wake-up call for all of us, because we were all thinking oh, well, we took care of the rapist in our scene, Steven's gone. Now we're all great and everything, right? And it's just a little reminder that we have to keep working on this stuff, that we, ousting one person does not mean that we are suddenly fixed. And I was actually really proud of the scene in the way that, in the States anyway, people by and large reacted with, supporting the people who came forward and were like, hey, this happened to me. And trying to make some good changes to prevent it from happening in the future. There's been so many scenes that have really upped their game in terms of not just having a code of conduct, but having someone that you can go to if something happens during an event, and doing more training around what's okay and what's not. So I was really glad to see that. At least it's kind of a shame that we need repeated reminders that not everyone acts in the best interest of the community all the time, but at least we are reacting well.
Yeah. You were one of the organizers at Fog City, right? Mm-hmm. What are some of the changes they did for that event?
We have our code of conduct for sure, but then we worked harder to train our internal staff members to come up with a protocol so that people who are having any problems can have an easy way to contact somebody to get help about it. And then all of our volunteers, all of our organizers and staff know like a good chain of who to contact to get appropriate help.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the thing you're alluding to is in the States, and that there were a variety of different reactions all around the world, and there was, unfortunately, like a lot of other reactions were either like that it wasn't a big deal, or that it was a he said, she said situation, and we have even Max actually reappearing later, several months later, sort of starting to like try and like come back into the scene quietly.
It's like clearly too. I mean, too soon is an understatement.
Yeah.
Not never.
Yeah.
How about never? How about never, bro?
But people who we've said like this is not okay, they're going to keep like pushing our boundaries and testing how far we will let them back in. And apparently, what we're learning is that the buck stops maybe somewhere over there.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're like going to an event and you just like show up, they'll probably let you in. That's kind of what I've learned as a bummer.
Well, it's obviously not an issue that's going to go away. I think people are taking a lot of positive steps. I think there's a lot of hard conversations that people are having within all of their communities. But as you say, like the larger world is kind of opening up to these issues, and we're kind of a little bit ahead of the curve in some ways. So it's like, Me Too happened. How long ago was Me Too? That was last summer?
Fall.
Not a couple months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so I'm a little proud, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really proud that we had someone bold enough to step forward years ago, right? And I remember it was around the time of the whole Bill Cosby thing too.
Yeah.
It was around that same time. But what's interesting is that the mass media kind of it just kind of disappeared, and we were really dealing with it. And then it showed up again with what's his name, Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein, which meant it didn't go away, right? Bill Cosby wasn't the only person to have done this, and we're done. We're yay. So,
I think like we have forgotten that we're just like a microcosm of our bigger society, especially in the States. And, you know, this kind of behavior is rampant throughout all of society. And since our community is so tight-knit, I think we're able to hold each other to a higher standard and hold each other accountable. So when these same issues came up in our community, we could respond faster and, you know, lock it down and protect people better than the larger society can.
Yeah, pretty much.
I just also want to see us stop putting the onus of that work on women and the people who have been like disproportionately affected by these things, and start having people who are not the ones who are most vulnerable take on that burden for themselves. I think that's our next step. That's your homework.
We definitely have a lot of work to do. So moving on into slightly also kind of controversial, we had this one of our more popular podcasts or productions we put out was on Black inclusion in Lindy Hop, and we brought together, I think, a really cool, diverse group of folks just to kind of share their experienents and talk about challenges.
Diverse within Black, though.
Well, geographically diverse.
Geographically diverse,
right. Because you had Remy.
Yeah.
So,
I'm an idiot. I'm not going to change, guys. I'm sorry. Well,
and like ethnically diverse too.
Yeah. I'm joking because like some people actually were like, "Why was Remy even on there?" Right? And I was like, "Well, yeah, because Remy's not born here." It's like as if that matters at all. Like if this is dark and it doesn't matter what you are. If this is dark, you're going to be kind of lumped in with the rest of us.
When you're here.
When you're here,
Trevor Noah had that really famous clip that went around where he was talking about when he first got to America, he was stopped like 6 times by police officers just driving on the highway, and for him that was like a huge shock because he's not used to that.
Yeah,
in South Africa, he's not used to that.
Well,
when he moved here,
I don't know if it's like that in South Africa. I can't remember, but his friends that he was talking to were shocked that he experienced that. His white friends in America that he was talking to, because they never get stopped that frequently.
Okay.
Well, so the thing was, I saw it was all from a blog post that I guess I saw maybe or heard about Does anybody know what this blog post is about hiring black musicians or something like that?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any more information than I did? Because I actually didn't have a lot of information about it. I don't think I followed that thread. But
I've got the magic of the internet on my phone.
yeah. So anyway, it was some kind of conversation about, and then what interested me was that there was a point where I was like, well, who's asking who? Or is the non-black community asking the black community? Because I've actually had, well, I won't give it away, but I've had two different people at two different times ask me, hey, so how do we get more black people in the Lindy Hop?
Two people, like, in the last month.
In the last month.
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't ever go out, you guys. This is why.
Wait, you mean you're not the spokesperson for all black people?
I was 5 years ago, but then we have an election. No. So it's a little weird, and it's kind of uninformed. They're not doing it out of spite, but it's like, hey, how do we bring black people in? And I don't know.
This is another one of those times where, like, those of us who are not affected need to do our homework before we start putting a burden on those who are, like, the ones in the situation. Like, do your, like, 101 homework of reading what's out there or whatever before you go, like, hey, you represent all your people, right?
Yeah, it's a little weird. I mean, we had this conversation, Nicole and I had a conversation leaving a venue one night. And so now that forces me to kind of try and figure out why. Even though I'm not in charge of figuring out why, that forces me to figure out why, or also then go and do research. Because I feel like I'm responsible now to figure out why. And I think one of the things that we all said on the panel, or I think maybe Andrea said it, I don't remember, but it was this idea that we are supposed to know why, but I feel kind of, it's like a burden. It took me forever to realize I was dancing with a girl in Lindy Hop. I just thought I was doing a cool puzzle with another person. Like, I'm not kidding. I was like, oh, this is a cool dance puzzle.
Bless his heart.
With another person. Like, honestly, I'm not making this up. And so I didn't care if you were, my mom said, black, white, or pink with polka dots. As long as we could do this cool dance puzzle, I'm cool. Anyway, long story short, I think a lot of cool things came out of it, especially Remy said a lot of neat things about how he feels, his ownership in the dance, you know, being African American, being of African descent, I guess I could say, and you know, his reverence to the past, but not this need to strictly stick with it, right? I don't know. That's a whole different door. Yeah. That's why we did a whole podcast.
Yeah. So, I mean, it opened up a lot of conversation that had been happening either, you know, individually with people you were friends with or in particular scenes where issues came up. And I think that the fact that we brought some people together to talk about it has, I think, opened the door for more conversations about that. So now, like, at Lindy Focus, I don't know if it was Focus or just Michael Gamble posting about, like, hey, we need to talk about, like, why... you know, is there barriers for African American musicians to be playing in for Lindy Hop venues? And like, what are we doing to reach beyond our normal communities of musicians?
Right.
There's, I feel like there was another recent conversation about representation and what was it? Anyway, it's a continuing conversation, and like, you know, like, what is the next thing that we need to focus on related to African Americans and how they relate to our dance?
Yeah, I think I'm really excited to see for Lindy Focus this year are the conversations with Bri about race, that she's basically going to say, like, hey, white people, buck up, do better, and like, here's some stuff that you need to know, so that hopefully people don't have to then go to Manu for their, like, 101 of, like, dealing with black people.
We're also going to talk about the one that the panel you led, inclusion of LGBTQ communities. And I do want to address some of the... So the black inclusion one was pretty low key.
Mm-hmm.
People kind of were on board. There was some fire for the other one that we did. Can you talk about that?
We can move on to that one, sure.
Yeah.
So later in the summer, we had another panel. Again, diverse, different interests, different folks who are prominent international dancers and performers, people who just run their local scene. And again, I think a really just raw conversation, because we really hadn't had that kind of conversation before. And I think one of the best comments was just we don't need to feel a burden about why they're not showing up. But we just need to look at it and see, are there barriers that we're putting up so that they can choose to, if a lesbian couple wants to come and do Lindy Hop, what are barriers for them in terms of language that we're using and images that we're showing them, and how do we get rid of those so they feel like this is a dance that I could do and I would feel comfortable dancing with my partner and not feeling pressured to be in this sort of heteronormative box. That was what was really interesting to me. Not that we're saying hey, we need this percentage of gay people who are doing Lindy Hop, which is silly. The same with black people. We need these many black people and then we're doing inclusion right. I think that's not the answer. But what is it that is blocking people or keeping people from going beyond that first taster class and sticking with the dance? Going oh, I could do this. I should keep doing this. And I certainly don't know those answers, but I think that was the opening door for that conversation.
Personally, I would argue if you don't have about commensurate representation of underrepresented groups in your scene, as in the neighborhood that you live in, that you are actually failing. But that's me.
You're failing?
Yeah, you're failing.
Oh, okay.
So if you look at it in your community and then you go to your dance, and it looks very different from folks who are in the supermarket or
So I'd say that's a failure, if you ask me. But yeah, it's really great that that you all had that conversation and that a lot of people really engaged in it, which I really valued.
Got a good amount of views. I mean,
it's all about those views.
It's all about those views, baby.
That's why I post pictures of videos of Micah and Sky, because
it's all about the
everyone
views.
loves babies.
What was the heated debate you mentioned, Manu?
Well, it's not really a heated debate, but some people were saying, and I haven't seen the video in a while, but one person said, so Adam is advocating violating one of the points in a typical code of conduct, quote, respect the rights of a person to say no to a dance regardless of their reason. I think in some point in the conversation, someone asked, or he asked.
It was in a competition if there was a dude who wanted to follow, and if you were a male leader and you didn't want to lead another man, feel you're forcing me to dance with another man. So you're taking away my agency to be able to choose who I want to dance with and who I don't want to dance with.
But this is how the laws in the U.S. work around protected groups. You can refuse entry to anyone except if it is on the basis of their being part of one of these protected groups. Mm-hmm. That's the way the law works here anyway.
Yeah, I mean there's law and there's culture, right? There's there's we're having all these values and norms that are coming up against each other in the context of a contest, which we might as well just get into mix and match because we're already
let's do it.
Moving into that anyway. So
what is you mean Jack and Jill?
Jack and Jill. So this was our big accomplishment.
Luck of the draw.
Oh my God, luck of the! I really don't like luck of the draw. We started this. I thought it was a very innocuous blog post.
I think you started
in May. Which was just asking the question hey, shouldn't we come up with a different name for Jack and Jill? And that has the most comments we've ever had. It was just hundreds and hundreds of people just going in and on Facebook, on Reddit, on Yehoodi, just in person. Just people it just raised people's hackles all over the place. And lots of people just saying oh yeah, that doesn't make sense. And now,
Jack and Jill is a fairy tale. It's a lovely tale about two people who love each other going up on a hill. And
wait, one of them dies?
Yeah.
Right? Wait, I think they both die. Jill's questionable, but
Yeah.
She just ended up in the hospital. It was okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
Okay.
well, I know for a fact that, Jack Carey didn't create the term to piss anybody off, but it's one of those things that's born in the time that it was born in. Mm-hmm. Frankie always taught the fellas to go to this side of the room and the girls to go to that side.
And you bow to your queen.
And you bow to your queen.
Yeah.
There's nothing that says and they can't be a queen.
Truth.
Yeah, that's for sure. But my question to the panel right now is it? I'm answering my own question right now. I'm trying to play devil's advocate.
He don't need no advocate.
I'm trying to play.
Now I need to hear it. Now, come on.
The degenderification of this dance now, when it was born in a time of like, a time that was not only racist but sexist and all this other stuff. We have terminology in this dance right now that is just left over from that era. I guess this is a conversation that we should be having. I guess people are owning, the whole... Look, I'll tell you this much. I usually feel a little bit uncomfortable when a guy asks me to dance. A little bit. But, like I said earlier, it's about that cool puzzle. Mm-hmm. That's way more motivational for me to dance with whatever gender than it is. But my initial thing, because I'm heterosexual, is... This is going to be weird, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That's my initially, I gotta be honest. But then after that, I go, okay, let's see how good you are. And that just takes over all the time for me. And if the follow, who happens to be a guy, is really good, I'm super impressed. And then sometimes I'll try and switch. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, let's see how good a lead you are. It just becomes a dance. I don't know. I guess I was just train of thought there.
What I'm getting out of this is that Manu is always testing his partners. How good are you?
Who are puzzles?
I'm kidding.
I'm not great anymore.
And people are puzzles.
That is a flat out lie.
I'm
Bald-faced lie. Not bald-headed, just bald-faced.
Yeah, bald-headed, almost there.
You still do all right for yourself.
So how we doing? How we doing in the scene? Have we figured out what we're gonna call it? Max and Mitch.
I think it's pretty much gone. Like
Max and Mitch.
Max and Mitch. I kind of like Max and Mitch.
We got rid of Max.
There was Joe and Joe.
Mitch.
I don't know.
Steven Mitch.
Oh my God!
We did get rid of Max and Mitch.
We got rid of Max and Mitch.
All right. Yeah. I think a lot of people are doing mix and match. There's Luck of the Draw or LOTD, which just reminds me of LOTD. There's a couple of other names out there, but I really loved that there was like so much engagement with this, and I kind of want this to prompt us to keep digging in our closet for those pants that like don't fit us anymore. They're not ever going to fit us again. Just purge them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Lindy Hop can survive these changes. Like we're not changing the dance. We can move the dance into a modern understanding of the diversity of people and how we relate to each other, and still do Lindy Hop. Like all these people are like, you're not really doing Lindy Hop anymore. I'm like, yes, we are. Totally doing.
We use like modern recording techniques for our albums. We have DJs that play off of computers. Like we're firmly in the 21st century. Maybe we face up to it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the hesitation is based on people's, the people just love to hold on to terminology and language, and a lot of people think of language as stagnant, and this is the right way to speak English, and these are the words we use, and this is what they mean. But if you ask any linguist, language is always evolving, and it usually starts with teenage girls, and the slang evolves, and then it gets adopted by older people. And I think this is the same thing with our terminology, that people are really holding on to the traditions that they've been taught. But, it's going to evolve.
Yeah.
We're going to adapt.
Who was fighting to keep Jack and Jill?
Oh, there was a lot of people.
There's a lot of
people.
People. They're just like, you are killing this dance.
It's like the history.
Yeah, you're erasing the history. Jack Carey, blah, blah, blah.
When clearly Jack didn't really care.
Jack didn't
I didn't even know it was named after Jack Carey. I've been dancing for 10 years.
Well, Jack Carey kind of he created the format.
Yeah.
And then named it because he wanted a more social format. But they gotta let it go. Like I'm guaranteed the oldest one on this panel And I've learned underneath all these, like I said, when I learned from Frankie, it was guys and it was fellas and I've actually, over time, I've been working on degenderificating my speech in class, because that's not a fight that that's not a battle I care to fight. I don't care. As long as we're dancing, as long as we're doing the thing, let's call it voodoo. I don't care. It's still the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I can't believe people would be so, you have to call it this. What is it you're doing? Don't worry about what you're calling it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also, like, what's more important, keeping this name alive or letting people enjoy this thing that you enjoy? Like, if you love this thing, a lot of us tend to evangelize it and tell people how great it is. Mm-hmm. So you want to include other people in it. And if the thing that's standing in the way of that is the way that you describe a thing, then how much does that description really matter to you in the end?
Yeah. Which kind of brings me into the brilliance of one of my favorite dance videos that we posted, which was Chester revisiting the alphabet of solo jazz, the alphabet of jazz steps that our friend Stuart did many years ago, and then redid again with more alphabetical jazz steps, and then brilliantly got Chester to just, say, hey Chester, why don't you do the alphabet? And just Chester just schools him the entire time.
Yeah.
And so, well, this is what you guys call it. But really, back in the day, what we called it was this, or was done this way, but there's this other variation, like, we need to, like, download everything from that person.
Stuart, like God bless him, he just left after a while. Yeah. I think they got up to, got up to E, and Stuart was like, all right, I'm out. Totally. He just split. Chester is just that kind of guy. Like, he was there. When we did choreography from The Temptations,
Swing and Soul?
Yeah, Swing and Soul.
Oh.
Yeah, Todd.
Swing and Soul.
Yeah, right. Me and Todd Yannicone, for the first Swing and Soul, we said we're going to do this Temptations routine. And then we ended up getting, we had to get two people. We got Mikey Pedroza and we got Chester. And there were moments where we copied a video, but there was moments when they cut away from the temps to Eddie Griffin, who's doing the singing. We don't get to see what they're doing. And Chester was like, "Oh, they're just doing this," because he was
there.
He worked with Charlie. I forget his name.
That's an interesting last name.
Yeah.
Charlie Atkins.
How do you write that?
Yeah, Charlie Atkins, who was a choreographer for the Temptations.
Okay.
He worked for them. Like, he choreographed stuff with him. He's like, oh, I know exactly what they did. And he just told us on the spot. And at that point, me and Todd were like, holy crap. We are so inside this routine now. It's ridiculous.
It's bananas.
Cuckoo banana pants.
I would suggest watching it, especially if you're a jazz dancer, because it's not going to change. Like, it's a huge deal in that he gives more history of where the step came from.
Yeah.
Right? Because they were doing this as shouts. No, that's actually rock. Mm-hmm. Because if you look at the Marshall Stearns video of Leon and Al doing it, they actually say it right there. It's like clear as day what the move is. That's if you want to get into the semantics of what things are called. Once again.
Certainly, we're not a community of nerds.
No.
We love that. Oh my God.
No. Especially in San Francisco.
No. But there was this other, was the jazz solo just database, or no, they're like a bunch of Canadians who basically, like, they have videos sort of like, this is how you do whatever boogie backs, this is how you do it. It's like them showing it, and then it's like, and then we want to add historical footage of people doing it, and then like breakdowns of how you do all these steps. And it's basically like a searchable database.
You gotta throw that in the notes so I can throw it up on the screen.
So I can see it.
Yeah. It's really, really audacious effort. But in some ways, it's like, is it like too nerdy? Is it like saying, like, this is the way you do it, and therefore it always has to be done this way? Whereas Chester's sort of saying, like, no, actually, these are the variations of how it was done, and this is how, this dancer did it, but this dancer did it this way. Are we sort of like locking into, like, language as like in stone? Like, you can only do boogie backs this way. You can only do rocks this way. Yeah. I don't know. It's like, I don't know the answer.
That
was going to happen at some point.
I don't think there's anything inherently wrong in like creating a database like that to preserve our knowledge as we currently have it. You know, as long it's how people are going to use that knowledge. If people try to use that to enforce, this is the right way to do a boogie bag.
Yeah.
That's lame.
Yeah, DQ you for improper use of boogie bags.
He kicked forward instead of on a 45-degree deduction.
Can I just intersect something that's not on here?
Okay.
At Fog City, now you tell me if this happens everywhere else. There was a competition that the couple had to not only dance together but do jazz. Was that invented at Fog City or was it something else?
We based it off of a couple other competitions. I think at Inspiration Weekend they had a similar idea that they took from I think Harlem in Sweden. So our permutation of that is that the couples in the prelims have to dance partnered and then solo to a song and then combined. And in the finals, you just have to mix solo and partner dancing together. It's so fun. It like really challenges the dancers.
I had never seen it in my life until I was sitting there trying to judge it. And then who was I sitting next to? I think it was Casey or someone like that. We turned and go, this is really hard.
Yeah.
And the thing is that we do that in our social dancing like all the time,
Yeah.
but in like a performance context, it's almost invisible.
Sorry, that had nothing to do with the year in review, but I just was like, if that's a new thing, I want to see that a lot more.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know of any other events that really have contests like that, but I'd like to see more of that blending happening.
So
I would love to be that. I would love for that to be part of the expectation of like Strictly comps in general. Like not have a specific half and half contest, but have the expectation when you enter a Strictly is that you have some solo jazz and you have some partner stuff and you put them together.
Yeah.
It's nice when you see a Strictly couple do some solo jazz, but they're doing it just because they're adding it. But it'd be nice if it was like, well, where is it? Don't just add it. Don't make it a special thing.
Yeah. Now, what that brings up for me is that the dance is not set in stone, you know, as we said, and our contests are how we privilege the dance and say this is the best version of this dance. We're going to have a contest and we're going to create these rules, and you need to innovate within those rules. But I think we've kind of been in a rut for a while where we're just like, we're trying to be ballroom, we're trying to be West Coast swing, we're trying to be legitimate, we're going to have these rules and rubrics, and then something like Swing Riot happens. We're just like, screw all that. We're just going to go balls out.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring in street dancers, we're going to have jazz dancers, and we're going to have the audience judge, or we're going to, you know, have a totally different a format of doing solo jazz where two people battle against each other and then there's pointing or whatever. Like, I think that's the richness of the dance is going to come from people just like trying stuff out, and some of it's not going to work. I totally thought this was going to, I was like, I don't know how this is going to work out, and like when it does,
it's
just
amazing. It's amazing.
You know? So I think we need to categorize, we need to like create a space for that to talk about, like, you know, how do you push your contests and your showcases into different directions that bring out different things in people's dancing, right?
I think it's really important for events to be mindful of that, because what the winners of those events become the trend setters, especially for the larger events, and then you have a whole year of people trying to emulate the first, second, third place people.
Yeah.
So you can really sway your local scene if you start hosting competitions to emphasize whatever you want your community to develop.
No, totally.
What else we got? What else happened this year?
Well,
Swing Riot.
Yeah, so we just mentioned Swing Riot. So this was. So I'm gonna put a proviso. I don't think it's so they announced that they were not doing Swing Riots into the future, primarily because Alain and his partner.
Nice.
Yeah, we're no longer. They just have the.
Alain what?
Yeah.
And Jen?
Sorry.
Yeah, Jen. They don't have the bandwidth because they have 2 kids now. So
yeah.
I guess having 2 kids is work. I don't know. I guess it's kind of.
Nah, it's easy.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously running a huge contest like that and Rosie and their family was too challenging for them. But I think things can happen. I think that a lot of people were like, I know you were really disappointed about it. I mean, I only got to go once, so I was like, I have to go back to this. So I think either someone else is going to step forward and take the reins of that, or maybe their kids will get a little bit older and they'll have more bandwidth to do it. Because I think they really like doing it. I think they really are committed to the event, but, you know.
I think their priorities are all effed up. Really, guys, work a little harder. Okay, 2 kids is not a problem at all. As I kill myself.
Says the man who goes to travels to one dance event a year, if that. Now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. So other big anniversaries. We had the 10-year anniversary at LHC.
10 years.
Yeah.
10 years. Yeah,
That's
I remember when that was
wild.
the upstart event.
Yeah.
Right.
I went to it the first year.
Yeah,
I just
me too.
drove over from Cleveland. What is this thing happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
it's
it was in
changed.
that old hotel. It's gone through so many hotels.
Before it had all the flags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So congrats to Tina for keeping that going for 10 years.
Yeah, and keeping it fresh too. Things
Totally.
like the museum of swing stuff that she set up there this year was really cool.
Yeah.
And I know it took a ton of work, so I'm keep innovating in different ways and contests and history stuff that we provide. God love it.
Totally. The other big event that had a big anniversary was Camp Hollywood, celebrating the 20th anniversary.
Excuse me?
Yeah, Camp Hollywood
20
can almost
years.
drink now, which is hilarious because
Yeah. So I'm just going to put this out there. I've not in the past been a huge fan of Camp Hollywood. I found it I found their contest just too crazy and wild and very intense and lots of shouting and I don't know. For me, it just made me uncomfortable. I didn't like the.
Sounded like me.
I didn't like the beauty pageant.
yeah, me
I
neither.
found the beauty pageant kind of pretty misogynist.
No, I like the beauty pageant.
Just the.
Which they ended that.
So
Yeah.
so
The changes that they're
I didn't like.
making.
I found the social dancing a little bit snobby.
Wait. Can we back up to the beauty pageant just for a minute? Was it supposed to just be women?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Although when
So-
a man did enter, Voon entered one year, so
Yeah.
I don't know if they have hard rules about gender in it, but it's the Miss Camp Hollywood, so
Yeah.
the expectation is female presented.
Female presented. But anyway, it's gone now. So I went this year because I was on a team primarily, and had an amazing time. One, they got rid of Miss Camp Hollywood. The contest, I think, were they reined in some of the craziness. I mean, it's still this crazy energy, but I think it was better structured. I found the social dancing really, really inviting and welcoming. Just had a totally different experience, and now I'm a huge fan of Camp Hollywood. And I think that Hillary's worked really hard on that event. I mean, obviously for 20 years, keeping it going. I think they have a really special thing going on there.
But also having someone like Hillary who is running that event and then also super involved in Facebook groups and
Sure.
stuff about getting women well represented and not shat upon in this scene.
Yeah.
It was also a really welcoming beacon of likely if the person who espouses these beliefs is leading this event, it's probably going to be all right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hillary, I was always a fan. Don't let me in with him.
Wow.
Right under the bus. There he goes. Sorry. That
Love
was,
you,
a 28,
Hillary.
that was a 28R, actually, the Rapid.
Yeah, other big news of the year was the Jimmie Lunceford band transcription campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Which was a huge success.
Oh my gosh! I mean, how many hours did it take for that to get fully funded? It was ridiculous. So they launched it in July. It was the follow up to their Chick Web campaign last year, and they're just who are other band leaders who there is no sheet music essentially or no transcriptions available, so bands can't perform them, and everyone wanted Jimmie Lunceford. So just in a few weeks, if you get to go to Lindy Focus, you'll have your opportunity for the first time to hear these transcriptions performed live.
Unless you got a taste of them in November, like some of us did.
Ooh,
Where?
Here.
Yeah.
They played some of them here?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
I was there. I don't
Clearly,
know.
I slept on that.
I was paying
Oh
attention.
shoot!
I just was shocked. It was hard to dance when the music is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Michael is doing an incredible job at just his perspective and trying to
Michael Gamble.
and what are the things that we need to kind of keep this art form going. And I was happy to kick in for one of the songs, and I'll be excited to hear it.
Cool.
That's awesome.
And I think that kind of brings us to the end of the year. Is there anything else that?
Well, I definitely want to say happy birthday, Norma. Keep it going.
Yes.
Yeah.
98.
98. I have my Swinging at the Savoy book right up there, and I want to make sure at Swinging at the Savoy this year in Lake Merritt,
Uh-huh.
that I take that book and I get her to sign it. Because, how old is she now? 98.
98, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm convinced she's going to live to be 150, and the rest of us are going to be, like, decrepit and falling apart, and she'll be like, what's wrong with all of you? And she'll still be doing, like, stops.
Yep.
Absolutely.
What else? What else we got? Is that about it?
I think so.
We covered the highlights.
We didn't mention Alive and Kicking.
Oh yeah, Alive and Kicking. For those of you who have not seen the documentary yet, I think it might be on Netflix.
It is on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah. Like some of us at this table have not seen it yet. I've seen it. You've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I think, first of all, it's wonderful to see someone's passion project who loves this dance
come to fruition.
And you know, I'm not going to mention any other sort of swing film projects that have been out there, but like this one, I think is an earnest effort to really represent the dance, certain aspects of the dance, and profile some dancers that I think a lot of my non-swing friends didn't know about and were really excited about, particularly the Decavitas, who I know the Decavitas themselves were not super excited about how they were portrayed, but I learned a lot just from watching them, and I know them, I've met them, and just seeing them like talk about the dance and why they do it. I think that for me was really the highlight. You know, I know you have some different feelings about it.
It's one of those things where there's people that you don't get along with because they're so similar to you, and then have like some differences, and you just can't get past that like 2% of differences between you and them. So that is where my frustration with the documentary comes from, is it portrays like everything is constant performances and aerials and stuff and hooking up, and like I've not really had either of those be a big part of my Lindy Hop experience, and I wanted much more focus on like the rhythm and like partnership and stuff, and then the way that it showed Lindy Hoppers doing a blues competition and also shitting on blues, and I was like, that's you've been a little.
Yeah, but how sexy would the story be if it didn't have any of that stuff?
If it didn't have sex in it.
I'm not justifying it, but it's tough, right? Because number one, she had to find a story. This was Susan Glatzer, right? Mm-hmm. She had to find a story somewhere in this, and then she had to make it hot. And it's like, dang it. That's why we complain all the time about some of these swing movies. They either don't tell the right story, or they don't get to, like you said, this is the stuff that I haven't watched it yet, and I'm like, damn, that just sounds like a typical kind of, well, we need to make it hot, we need to make it spicy, we need to, everybody's hooking up in the swing scene. It's like, no,
I mean, I hear you. I think that they were
some people are, but some people didn't get any.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't reflect your experience in the dance, then it doesn't reflect your experience in the dance. And that's the thing, is that Lindy Hop you can have a lot of different kinds of experiences, and competition is a very small slice of it for most people.
Yeah.
I think the thing I liked about it is most dance movies, most dance documentaries, they usually focus on a competition, and it's usually like somebody training, and then they have some personal issue that they have to work through to get to the competition, or the team isn't gelling, or they fail at this one and they didn't make the finals, and it's this arc of like, will they make finals, will they get first, and then you wait and and they won, or they didn't win, or whatever. And like, this wasn't that. This was like just kind of like following people in their lives as dancers, and competition was a big part of that, and performance was a big part of that. The social part, I think, is harder to show. Right, what is it that's the social part that keeps people?
Between the two of you, do you think it's the truest thing you've seen as far as Lindy Hop?
What else is it?
Control Alt Dance doesn't count. Is this?
Well, yeah.
Oh, but Kevin is such a great.
Kevin is great. Kevin is a really, really good bad guy.
And the hopscotch. So good. That was the truest thing I've seen in portrayal of Lindy Hop.
Okay, all right. Question has been answered.
Yeah.
Anything we're looking forward to in 2018?
Impeachment.
What did you say? What did she say?
Impeachment.
Oh, impeachment. Oh, we're not going to get political on the show right now.
That's why I did it in the cops. Deniability.
I don't know. Anybody looking for anything special?
The Switch 2018. We didn't talk about
The
that.
Switch 2018, absolutely. So some good friends of ours organized, I guess, probably the first all-weekend workshop just dedicated for people learning and performing and competing in the non-traditional in the non-traditional role.
And they're non-dominant.
In their non-dominant role.
Yeah, non-dominant.
So there was a whole track that was about dancing both roles, and there was another track where you danced the non-dominant role. I did the whole weekend almost the entire weekend as a follow, and had a blast, and my brain was broken pretty much the whole time, and I haven't felt that way at a Lindy Hop workshop in a long time. I think I felt really challenged before, but this is where it was just like, oh my god, this is so hard, and I need to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
So for me, that felt really good.
Yeah.
So I don't know, what was your all's experience?
Yeah, it was awesome. I already love to lead, and to have like a whole room full of people now who want to do the other role that I'm not doing is like, it just opens up so many opportunities. I can dance with anybody in the room if I can do both.
Isn't that crazy?
It's so nice.
Isn't
And then all the people I already love to dance with, I then get to do an entirely different dance with them when we do the other role.
I was only there for one of the dances that night, but I was able to talk to so many different people, because usually I'm dancing with leaders who are usually male, and then a lot of women were coming up and asking me to dance, and they were leading, I was following, and it was so nice. Like, I met a lot of people that I would never really have met before,
That's so
because they're on the
trippy,
other
right?
side of the floor dancing with the same partners that I'm dancing with, you know. So I love that it's like bringing people together.
Another thing I
that's
love,
awesome.
I keep cutting you off.
No, I'm so happy with that.
Another thing I loved about it is that we kind of have like a social hierarchy of skill in dance, and then when you have people do their non-dominant role, that like kind of goes out the window, because how good you are as a follow is not super indicative of how good you're going to be as a lead. And so suddenly there wasn't like a pecking order, which I really liked. It was just everyone can dance with everybody, and there's not like I can't dance with that person, they're too good.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Totally. So yeah, totally looking forward to Switch 2018. And we'll be sharing more about it. Have they even announced the dates or anything?
I don't know.
We'll look it up and we'll share it.
All right. Housekeeping real quick. Of course, like and subscribe, like they always say. But more so, if you want to keep us alive, click the donate button.
Give us an IV.
Click the donate button, and you can become a patron of Yehoodi.
Patron of the arts.
Patron of the arts. Keeping us going. Our managing editor right here, Rik Panganiban, is doing an amazing. That was a Jedi move. That was a Jedi move. Amazing job at keeping the website going. Yeah, and the Facebook page too. I love it.
In the Facebooks.
And the
Absolutely.
Facebooks.
Facebook.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that wraps up 2017. For those of you who are celebrating, have wonderful times with all your family and friends, and we will see you in the new year for 2018.
Why that? That has nothing to do with the end of the year.
No?
It's not Old Lang Syne.
But that's the Charlie Brown version, where they sing and you can hear them go.
And with that,
Never seen that movie.
Thanks for watching. Catch y'all on the dance floor.
bye.